Hello everyone. I welcome you all to the third episode of Weekly Economic Updates. And in this part, we will be seeing news articles ranging which have been published in the daily news national newspapers, that is Hindu and the Express, from 14th January to 21st January 2024. So this is our third video, and the earlier two videos are already uploaded on the channel. So you can go visit that channel. Anyway, so coming back, in this week we'll be covering Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, parallel testing for electronics, multidimensional poverty, the news articles related to that. We'll see the PM Kisan beneficiary scheme, we'll see the production linked incentive scheme, and about little bit news to just have an idea about this foreign portfolio investors, and then we will have startup policies, which is important for the state of Arunachal Pradesh. Fine. So the purpose of this particular video and this particular series is initially the purpose is limited to cover the major economic updates related to GS paper 3 for our UPSC Civil Services Entrance Examination, as well as for the Arunachal Pradesh Public Service Commission, as I am involved here. So without much delay, let's come back to the first video. That is, we have a news article coming from 15th January 2024, published in the Indian Express, as you can see it at the top. It says that the government is likely to unveil new PMAY Gramin, G means Gramin, version with 85% higher financial assistance. 85% higher financial assistance means if earlier anyone was getting 100 rupees, so now they will get 85% more. It means now they will be getting 100 rupees, earlier one, plus 85% of 100 also. So that is 185 rupees. Now, for prelims perspective, for mains perspective, things are not that much important in this news article. But I um, just wanted you to know that how exactly the government functions and why the government keeps on increasing its revenue expenditure. And we know we cry a lot that government should focus on capital expenditure and all those things, but there has been two different theories about that. And India is a developing nation, my friend, so we cannot say that we could almost cut on the revenue expenditure part. So this particular scheme is related to Pradhan Mantri Awas. Awas means house, Yojana means plan. Fine, you know that. And G means Gramin. So what is this scheme all about? That is, I guess you all must be knowing it. It is just simply that the government will provide financial assistance to poor people. Now the question is, who are poor people in India? Fine. This particular thing is related with poverty also. But what is the present status quo? Fine. So the present status quo is that poor people in India are identified by a term known as BPL, below poverty line. How to reach this below poverty line? Attempts have been made in the past, and the latest attempt that has been made, which is obviously 12 years ago, was made by a committee which was constituted, and the name basically the famous committee is known as Tendulkar Committee. So Tendulkar Committee was constituted on the poverty, and Tendulkar Committee said that if you are earning, or sorry, if you are spending, if the spend is less than rupees 27 per person, right, in village per day, then that particular person will be under the category known as below poverty line. And similarly, he counted the number of population in the country who were able to spend less than 27 rupees in village areas. And he said that in urban areas also, urban areas the criteria was rupees 33. And together in all India, he said that around 21.9% or 22% of the Indian population lives under poverty line. So we can say that 22% of the people in this country are poor. Now, how did Tendulkar arrive at this rupees 27 for village areas? Now, this is a subject matter which is now no more important because it has already been 12-13 years since this estimation was done. So, this estimation was that around 22% of the population in India is poor as per 2011. After that, no official and concrete and survey has been done. no authenticated survey has been carried out. So we cannot rely on this particular survey on a longer basis. Is as an alternative to this survey, there is one survey that we are seeing every day in news is known as multidimensional poverty. See, poverty generally we all understand and associate poverty with the economic terms. And I am personally of the opinion that economic poverty is all what should be accepted for, because economic poverty is a real poverty which we all have been learning since our childhood. And this is what we face. And we all know that money lies at the bottom of everything. But Niti Ayog says that let us why constrict ourselves only to understand poverty in terms of economic terms. Why not? We can relate poverty with lack of education, lack of health, lack of living standard, and so many things. So Niti Ayog comes out with multi-dimensional poverty index. That is a separate thing. But under this, because 22% of the population is poor, so government in the past have started this financial assistance program to the poor. And this present government renamed the earlier scheme to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, right? So there are two, Gramin and urban. So the latest news that from the next fiscal year that will be commencing from April. So presently we receive 1,20,000 per household receives in the village areas. Now the government is almost more than doubling it. It is almost 85% increase we are going to see. Now, until and unless the budget is out, the official word is out, the cat is out of the bag, we will not be able to know what is the exact situation. But once the government increases it, it will almost cross and it will reach some 2,39,000 something. Now, why the government is increasing? It's not that government is increasing without giving it a thought. There is inflation in the market, and there are so many reports which are already displaying that inflation is at the highest. Either we take into account the CPI inflation or the WPI inflation. So, to take into account the inflation factor, government has increased this. Now, how this fact goes important for your examination? This fact is not that much important for your examination. So if you see why these kind of schemes are done, because हम लोग बचपन से पढ़ते आए हैं कि रोटी कपड़ा मकान, these things we have learned, and when it comes to roti, government is already giving PDS. Fine. So PDS, so basically this scheme, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, PDS, one will provide makan, one will provide roti. Next comes to the case of kapda, and kapda is largely, we can say that it is a basic part living standard, and fortunately and luckily for us, that is not a bigger problem for us. But PDS is definitely going to do a lot of things, and PDS is definitely helping and playing a very important part, very important role in countering the poverty. With this and this, there is one very definite scheme which is known as NREGA, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So together, these three schemes are very important. And in every examination, my friend, you have to expect one question either from this Awas Yojana or from this PDS or from this NREGA, because these are the only three flagship schemes in terms of the budgetary allocation, in terms of the government intervention, that these three schemes are running the show of countering poverty and the associated and related challenges with poverty. So please make sure that you know in detail about these particular three programs, these particular three plans. All these three plans are basically government interventions, and this is a long-term intervention which the government is doing since long. This is how and why we say that India is a welfare state in true sense. So please keep in mind these three schemes. Wherever you write economic, wherever you write welfareism, you have to make sure that these three schemes are there. Now the name of the PDS is, we associate this with Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Right? So this was it for the first news. Let's come to the second news. The second news appeared in the Indian Express and also in the Hindu. It's about 14th January 2024, Indian Express. It says that government permits parallel testing for electronics from manufacturers. Now there are some key terms for our prelims as well as for our mains. Government permits parallel testing for electronics. See, whatever electronic item is to be sold in India or manufactured in India just before reaching the market, that electronic products has to go through a test. A lab testing has to be done. A lab testing has to be done for those electronic products. Who does this lab testing? So Bureau of Indian Standards (BIS) is responsible for that. When this lab testing is done, we know that how the Indian system works, and it takes a lot of time. So business in India, before selling their product, has to undergo something known as delays. And we know that in economy or any part of the economy to grow, affordability, accessibility to the market is very, very important. So access to market ecosystem plays a very important role कि whether the economy in your department, either it is industrial sector or agricultural sector or the services sector, how is going to be the market, because economy depends on supply and demand. No matter we provide a lot of land, a lot of labor, a lot of capital, but if there is no market access, so ultimately who will consume, who will demand, and how those consumption will be done. And without any consumption, economy cannot grow. With money, we can increase demand, but these products has to reach the market. So whatever electronic goods has to be sold in India, first of all, they have to go through that whether they conform to the lab standards or not. So new companies, government is promoting Make in India, government is promoting PL, public, this production linked incentive, design linked incentive. But government is doing a lot of testing. So in order to further make the market, Make in India ready, government has introduced a parallel testing of so many things. Earlier, suppose there are many components in a mobile phone. There is a camera, there is a chip, there is an aux cable, right? There is a screen. So different components. Suppose lab mein mobile phone went. So first stage camera will be checked of all the mobile phones. After that, chips will be checked whether it is conforming to or not, whether it is lab proof or not, whether the aux port is checked, screen is checked. So one by one, different parts were checked because of limited capacity that we had in our labs. This will lead to delay, and delay will obviously discourage the manufacturer from coming to this particular market, because all these parts are known as economic bureaucracy, my friend. So bureaucracy, whether be it in administration or in economy, it is going to create inordinate delays. So in order to do that, in order to simplify those process, government has started parallel testing. Okay, at once everything will be tested together. What is parallel testing? Just see here what is parallel testing. It says that under parallel testing, the lab will test the first component and issue test report. This test report number along with the name of the lab will be mentioned in the test report. This procedure will follow for subsequent components and final product also. Fine. Now, before reading this, this is not important to be written in your notebook. What is important is just one word. One word. That is parallel testing is allowed. Why this is allowed? The second last paragraph is important. In these kind of news, only the last and the second last paragraph is important for any line to be written in your notes. It says that this initiative enhances the speed of doing business. See, everything boils down to how the government is opening up its economies, allowing companies to introduce cutting edge products to Indian consumers swiftly. See the word swiftly. So these terms are there. So just make sure that you contributing to the success of Make in India mission. See, so swiftly, ease of doing business, Make in India mission. So in order to, when the government has seen one dream, so Make in India is just one policy. In order to reach to that policy, we need so many schemes, we need so many laws, we need so many tweakings in the system so that we can reach to that policy level. Fine. So just keep in mind these kind of words. If you want to include this, you can include this in your GS paper 3 syllabus. You go to this liberalization part, effect of changes in industrial policy. You write these particular line there, only write that government has started parallel testing, which will include more swiftly, and ease of doing business will be much easier. Nothing else you have to study. For prelims purpose, if you want to study, you can study about the Bureau of Indian Standards. Fine. Thank you so much. Next news. Next news is again a reiteration of the earlier thing. It says that India's multidimensional poverty rate has decreased to 11%, and 10 years ago it was almost 29%. Fine. Now, again, I have told you in the last video that multidimensional poverty index is not released by the government of India. Government releases only one type of data where poverty is understood in purely economic terms, absolute and relative terms. Okay. Niti Aayog is not government. Niti Aayog is just a think tank, which is just an executive body, and it just aid and assists the government. So Niti Aayog helps in policy making. So Niti Aayog has released a report. Multi-dimensional poverty means do not see poverty from only economic dimension. See poverty from all the other dimensions. So this particular news has a lot of data, my friend, but not important. Why? Because within economists also there is this debate going on. Ki whom should we follow? Right? But until and unless the official poverty estimation is not done by the National Sample Survey Organization, right, or the National Statistics Office that we have, we cannot till now. Till then, we should try to understand, try to know what this data is. So this headline is only sufficient to be written in your notes. Which part of the notes? You should write this data in Unit 2, that is inclusive growth, under which we have to study about poverty. So you can just write that thanks to government intervention that over a decade, right, multidimensional poverty is now 11.28%. It means that in India, around 11% people are still multidimensionally poor. But this is one part. 10 years ago, the number was almost 30%. Now, almost it has reduced by 65, 67%, but that is not important. This is only important. Now, one line you can also know from this part that as per Niti Aayog, almost 25 crore people they came out of multidimensional poverty in the last 9 years. But again, my friend, understand one thing. What is the standard criteria to call anyone multidimensionally poor? So datas do not always tell you the true picture, but we are not economists. We just have to write an exam. And for examination purpose, this particular headline is in itself sufficient. Other than this, you don't need to read much in this. Just read the last paragraph if you can. That's it. It says that India's definition of MPI is measured using 12 indicators, which includes C, nutrition, maternal health, schooling, school attendance, etc. MPI seeks to measure poverty in a more holistic manner as opposed to solely relying on income levels to assess deprivation. Except this part, don't waste time in reading all these things because you cannot read it. Fine, and it's not important also. Next. Next come to another news, and it's a very wonderful research done by the Indian Express on 17th January 2024. It says that the most important agriculture related scheme that we have is the PM Kisan scheme. And in PM Kisan scheme, what do we do? The government for the first time has introduced a way of providing subsidy, and that way of providing subsidy is income support. And I have told you multiple times the government provides subsidy by three ways in India. First way is by reducing the price of any product or giving it for free. So this process is known as price subsidy. After 2014, government introduced one more way that is known as direct benefit transfer. And recently, 4 years ago in 2019, government came out with a third way to provide subsidy on a pilot basis, and government started giving subsidy, which is known as income support. You don't give indirect subsidies to people, just give them some money, let them, do what they want. So in PM Kisan, we know this that 6,000 rupees per year is provided to marginal farmers, small farmers. What is small and marginal? These are the types of farmers, and we decide this as per the hectares. Indian Express says that ki suppose 100 people they get PM Kisan beneficiaries. 100 people are small and marginal farmers, suppose. So, number one is a man, number two is a man, number three is a man, number four is a woman. So, if 100 farmers are there who are getting benefits under PM Kisan, we can say that 25 are women farmers. Now, this is a good data. I mean, one can feel good about this. But Not feeling good, feeling good is one part, but how do we produce this data and where do we produce this data in our examination, in our mains examination? So this data can be useful in government intervention, and Indian economy is all about government intervention in the short term. So government intervening and what is the effect of that? So government intervention has done in PM Kisan by the income support. We can write this data, first of all, we can write this data in agriculture whenever the question is asked of agriculture and poverty reduction or women empowerment. We can write this data in GS paper 1 also when it comes to women, saying that how the government scheme is empowering women economically. So money lies at the core. But some few more good lines are there for our states or for individual states also. This particular line has amazed me in all ways. This line is, in four states, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland and Mizoram, women outnumbered men when it came to the number of new beneficiaries. But this is not a new data. We know that the sex ratio in these particular states is favoring the women, so it is not a new thing. Student of Arunachal Pradesh can just have a data, but they cannot recall this. So remembering this data is just useless. You cannot produce it, and even if you produce it, this data is not going to make much sense. Getting it? Now, post this, what is important for us to know that, see, the analysis 9, the proportion of women in the overall beneficiaries is higher as compared to the percentage share of women operational holders in the country, which stood at 13.96%. See, average landholding size in India is 1.08 hectare per person. Now, what is this data? As per agriculture census, what is an operational holding? It is when a person is holding it. So, point is, कि there are, according to the 2011 census, 12 crore cultivators are there, जिसमें से 30% are women. So 12 crore farmers are there in India as per 2011. Now this number is around 14 crore, 15 crore. Around 14 crore farmers are there in this country now. So 12 crore farmers में से 30% were women. And 30% means 3.5 crore there were women. So this is one data which we can do also at the same time. Okay. And after that, you please read this particular three lines. This particular last paragraph. It says that under PM Kisan, eligible farmers receive 6,000 per annum in three equal installments every 4 months. The scheme was launched, not important, right? At the time of first installment, the number of beneficiaries was 3 crores, which increased to almost 10.47 crore. Now, why this number increased? I mean, this is your homework. Okay, why this particular number increased? When you get to know the point, just let me know below in the comment section. Let's come to the next news. Next news is uninsured losses of itna billion in India due to natural disasters in 5 years. Now, the bigger problem is how do we convert it into rupee? So we don't need to worry much. The paper has already done that. It is 273,500 crores. So once tens, 100, 1000, 10,000 lakh. It means that this number is 2.7 lakh crore. So Indian has lost 2.7 lakh crore rupees over a period of 5 years, where they have lost to natural disasters. Like, what are the major natural disasters this country faces? The major natural disaster I feel we face is flood in the Great Plains and flash floods in the Himalayas mostly. Then there are lightning and other strikes also. Cyclone comes, some people are they lose their homes. So it says only one thing that you have to keep in mind. What one point in GS paper 3, this is becomes important in the disaster management part. Only one line of this paragraph is important, my friend. How insurance plays a role, and if insurances are not there, what India has lost. It also shows so many different things. But the first paragraph says a lot of things. It says that natural catastrophes in India have led to an economic loss of 2.7 lakh crore during the 5 period of 2018 to 2022, which indicates that the country is that there is very low penetration of insurance in this country. Okay, so just this point becomes important. Just write this in your disaster management part. Full stop. Nothing much is important in terms of economy. Next. The reason is also given, so you can also have a look at this part. Other than this, don't waste your time. Next news, if we come, it says that the government disburses 4,400 crore under the PLI, but the low job creation still remains a concern. For our exam purpose, we don't have to know much about this, right? We just have to be, we just have to know about, we just have to know about the scheme in detail, that is the production linked incentive. So very quickly we will see what is production linked incentive, which we have done already in the class, and you must have covered it in your notes. So PLI, mostly if you see, government is inviting the foreign companies to manufacture in India, but they are not coming. So government is just giving them a lucrative opinion कि you please come, you please invest in India, you please manufacture in India, and whatever you sell. Suppose a company sold 100 rupees ka product in 2022. A company sold 120 rupees ka product in 2022. Where they sell? They can either sell in domestic market or they can sell in foreign market. So a company sold 20 rupees more in 1 year. So government says, I'll give you 4% to 6% on this 20 rupees. You keep on selling. So suppose the government gives 4%, so this company will get 5 rupees extra as a gesture of thanks from the government. You please take this money. Thank you for your services. So government, this particular scheme is known as production linked incentive. The more you produce, the more you sell, the more incentive you get. But this number will not cross 6%. Initially, government has identified some sunrise sector in the economy. And these sunrise sectors will only get this systems. But in sunrise sectors, there is medical devices. In sunrise sector, there is pharmaceuticals. Now, my friend, government is doing so that Make in India can be promoted. And while promoting Make in India, government can make sure that these companies come with jobs. But we know that 45% of Indian graduates are non-employable. And when a company is producing medical devices, when a company is making dawaias, medicines, they need such skilled labor force. So in India lacks that also. And these kind of industries, they don't require much labor because these are highly mechanized industries. So these industries are coming to India, but they are not, hiring the workers. Fine. So this is one problem that you have to know. But still, the government is trying its best. Okay. Now after this, let's very quickly see FPIs dump stocks worth rupees itna crore in 2 days. Now FPIs are just foreign investments. Foreign investors are categorized into two parts. One we call foreign portfolio investors and one we call foreign direct investors. Foreign portfolio investors are allowed to participate in the capital market of India. Capital market, in other terms, we can say the share bazaar or share market. We have known one thing, कि whenever USA will increase the interest rates, which we call it Fed tapering. What is Fed tapering? Whenever USA banks increases the interest rate, means if you put 100 rupees in USA today and if the USA bank increases the interest rate, you will get more return in future. So the moment USA Bank, Federal USA Federal System, they increase the interest rate in the Indian economy, in the US economy, investors from America, investors from Australia, investors from Japan, investors from China, investors from India, they all withdraw their money from India and they go and deposit their money. They go and buy the government bonds of USA. But if the USA bank decides to lower their interest rate, what happens? They all will withdraw their money from USA and they all will again go and deposit. They will try to again buy bonds. They will try to again invest in companies of India and China and all those Japan. Now, FDI has dumped stocks, means they have sold their shares in Indian market and they have withdrawn their money. Why they have withdrawn their money? Because they have gone to USA. Now this is interesting. Why they have gone to USA? It may be because USA is now going to further increase or just maintain the increased interest rate. And this is only I want you to just revise. It says that, see here, The FPI sell-off, why the foreign portfolio investors sold the Indian stocks. It says that the FPI sell-off started after this. The governor of Federal Reserve System says that there was no urgency for a rate cut. Means he suggested that American banks were not going to cut the rate. Means the interest rate was not going to decline. If it is not going to decline, there is going to be stability and maybe there might increase. So FPIs, they speculated, and this is what share market is. They withdraw all the money. So this is just one point I want you just to know. Fine. Now, please, while reading is just read this last paragraph. In every news article, beach may the data are not important. The first paragraph and the last paragraph of every news article becomes important. Read less news. Try to observe more. Try to relate it whether you know or not. Just feel happy. Next news. The last news for today is that Arunachal Pradesh was awarded Certificate of Appreciation for being the top performer in which in the state's startup ranking policy. Now, what is startup ranking? So, state's startup ranking policy is obviously started by the government so as to promote the states so that they can set up a startup ecosystem. Means if any entrepreneur, if any businessman wants to set a business, every state should try to give him the ecosystem. What is the ecosystem? What is the ecosystem? How do you develop the ecosystem for startups? First thing that you do is whether the government is providing support, whether the individual, the new businessman, whether he is going to get the institutional support or not. Fine. Whether that particular individual has access to market or not, whether his products can easily reach the market, whether the government is helping him reach the market or not. What else? Whether the government has adequate support when it comes to funding, right? Loan and all those things. Whether there is appropriate and exact training is being done or not. So capacity building is there in the state or not, right? And whether whatever support the government is giving, whether that support is going to be sustainable or not. Fine. On these yardsticks, different state governments, different states are ranked in India. Government encourages them. You develop these particular things in the ecosystem of the state. You give them adequate support. You give them adequate training. You give them adequate credit, right? You make sure that there are proper infrastructure so that they can product reach their market as soon as possible. All the clearances should be in time. The government should be there. Upper desk should be there. And the good thing is that Arunachal Pradesh has been awarded the category of top performer. So this becomes obviously important for the students of Arunachal Pradesh in GS paper 3 mains and also in prelims examination at the same time. Fine. Yes. So this is the news for the day that you have to keep in mind. Okay. Now, when it comes to state policy, there are two types of categories, category A and category B. In category B, states are just divided with a population more than 1 crore and a population less than 1 crore. So obviously Arunachal Pradesh comes in category B. Who is the topper of category B? Himachal Pradesh is the topper of category B. Fine. But who is the top performer? Arunachal Pradesh is the top performer. So this you have to keep in mind. And it's a very good thing for the state that the state has a very good startup ecosystem, my friend. So I guess this will be it uh, for this particular week's. Hope you enjoyed and thank you so much everyone.